Hi and welcome to this Formula One podcast. This podcast is a part of Popecast Sports. I'm Oscar and I'm joined by my co-host as usual.
Hello, I'm Daniel, and we're here today to talk about the upcoming Germany Grand Prix. But as usual, we're going to start off by the last Grand Prix that was held in the Great Britain at Silverstone. Now, as usual, I think we start with the top, and we're back to it. Double Mercedes. But it wasn't as easy as the the standings say. Lewis Hamilton finished 24 seconds, almost 25, ahead of Valtteri Bottas in second, and another 30 ahead of the guy in third. But Bottas started on P1, and he held Hamilton behind him for a long time, pretty much the entire way until the safety car on lap 20. Hamilton got past a short while at the start of the race, but Bottas quickly got ahead of him again. And it was an amazing race by Bottas, but it was just Hamilton got perfect luck with the safety car with the way it came. And he was really good today again. So.
Yeah, I was really impressed by Bottas keeping Hamilton behind him for that long.
Yeah. It was one of all the... this was a race with very many cool fights, and actually Bottas versus Hamilton was a very cool fight for the first part of the third part of the weekend of the race. So
yeah, you could nearly don't even wish for more fights like that. It was insane in a lot of ways.
Mm-hmm.
Because Verstappen and Leclerc also had a big fight back and forwards.
Yeah. Leclerc was finished third. Max Verstappen finished fifth, with actually Pierre Gasly in between them. Gasly, who had an amazing race as well. But the racing we saw from Leclerc, from Verstappen, pretty much from, I don't know when it started, lap 11, lap 10, something like that. We started seeing him scrap. And they scrapped throughout the pit stop they had for lap 14, both of them. Charles go in ahead of Max. Max overtakes him in the pit stop, but then loses it 2 or 3 corners later. Leclerc is ahead again. Safety car. Max Verstappen is ahead. And he actually pulls away. And then a crash. Lap 37. Max Verstappen in fourth, going for Vettel in third. Passes him going into the last little piece of the track, and I don't know, Vettel maybe, I don't know if he just mistook the braking point. Did Verstappen brake earlier? I don't know exactly why it happened, but Vettel got way too close and rear-ended Verstappen's Red Bull, which turned around completely and landed in the same gravel pit as Giovinazzi had been 17 laps earlier. He was the cause for the safety car, and weirdly enough, both cars could finish the race. Vettel had to pit once for some new parts, and he actually finished on his 16th with that extra pit stop and a plus 10 second for the crash. But that's, yeah, Max Verstappen still fifth, but could have been a third. It could have been second. He might even have been able to fight Bottas for that second place, because he had one pit stop on Bottas. Bottas had to pit once more than pretty much everyone else in the top fight. So could have been a really good race for Red Bull.
Yeah, but I'm happy that both cars actually managed to survive the crash.
Yeah.
That was a shocker.
I thought it was over. Like, the second I saw that crash, I was like, okay, both Vettel and Leclerc Verstappen is out of this race. But then both cars drive away from there. And I got surprised. And they both actually managed to finish the race.
Yeah, I think Hamilton said something about that surprise, that he was surprised too.
Yeah. Yeah, he was. I think it was behind the race, or behind after the race. They were in their little suites where the top three drivers go a bit right before they go onto the podium. They have some highlights running from the race in there, and while they, weigh have their weight checked and everything like that, and they drink a lot of water. And there were some highlights in there of the crash. And Hamilton said, I think, live right down there, like, wow, it's amazing that both cars managed to drive away from that. So,
yeah, they
yeah,
were really lucky in a lot of ways there.
yeah, it's amazing, really, how, of course, both cars got damaged. Verstappen was a little bit anxious over the radio to his engineers that is there any problem? There's definitely damage here.
Yeah.
They say no, it's only for the looks. It's only superficial. It's not anything that's going to change the car.
Yeah, they actually sounded pretty surprised also. When I think of it.
Yeah. I would be surprised if they weren't.
Yeah.
Because that kind of shunt that both hit him in the back rear, he jumped over the track, he landed in the gravel. That could have done so much damage both to the rear end and the floor of the car. And a damaged floor is an undrivable car, but somehow he managed to get away with just superficial damage. So.
But to quote Verstappen after, beep.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he got a little bit surprised. He got a little bit angry, as he often is.
But who wouldn't?
Stuff like that happens.
In that situation, who wouldn't be angry if someone just crashed into?
Yeah. And I kind of like, though, right after the race, while Verstappen was still in his car, Vettel went up to him and pretty much asked for forgiveness, pretty much like that. Like, my mistake. I didn't plan for this.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it wasn't like in Canada, was it? That Vettel drove off? Or no, was that?
Oh, you're thinking about that where he went into the track the wrong way.
Yeah, where he went off the track, went in front of Hamilton, which had to brake. He got that 5-second penalty, which he came into first, Vettel, but it got demoted to second place because of it.
Oh, I don't remember the race, but I remember the situation.
Yeah, it was a race. After that, he wasn't very happy with it, but this time he was a little bit more gracious. So that's good to see. Yeah. They might be rivals on the track, but when they're not on the track, they're actually they're nice to each other. So that's
I really like to seeing those things that you go and really talk to him after and like ask for forgiveness. That is sportsmanship.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's move on to the best of the rest, shall we?
Yeah.
And it's once again the McLaren.
Yeah.
They are really cementing their place up there right now. Yeah. And if it weren't for a very unlucky pit stop right before the safety car for Norris, I think he would have been up there too. Now he finished 11th because he needed to do one last pit stop before the end. But another, I say, amazing day for McLaren. Yeah,
those guys are the most impressive ones in this season.
Yeah.
If you count what you thought about it before, at least.
Yeah. Yeah, like they were a bottom team last year. That's almost hard to remember now. Yeah. That they were a bottom team together with Williams, pretty much. Absolutely towards the end of the season. And the start, they were actually pretty good, but they really tailed off. And here, all of a sudden, they're the fourth best team.
I'm going to sound like a broken record when I say this once again, but we said that they would finish second to last there.
Yeah.
But we will talk more about what we thought before the season in the next episode of this.
Yeah.
Because we're approaching summer break now.
Yeah. It's this upcoming race this weekend, and there's one more in Hungary, and then we have almost an entire month off.
Yeah.
So. But let's talk about that later.
Yeah, one thing that I loved. This sounds so cruel. none of the Williams cars are last.
Yeah, Russell in 14th, Kubica 15th,
Yeah,
Vettel behind them. That's funny to see afterwards. They were ahead of Ferrari. Of course, that was with the extra pit stop and the 10 seconds. Vettel was actually ahead of Kubica on track. And then last, Sergio Perez, also with an additional pit stop after hitting Hulkenberg shortly after the safety car restart.
yeah,
That
but
cost him a lot of time in order to get back to the pits.
yeah, but now they should really celebrate.
Yeah,
This is big.
yeah. It feels like they are steadily moving forward, Williams.
Yeah, they're like they're not like embarrassing themselves in as bad anymore.
No, I mean they're still lost. They still have the worst car on the grid, but they're way closer now than they have been.
Yeah, now they're
So
giving those guys in the bottom fight for it.
yeah, they're starting to get closer.
In the beginning of the
Unless
season,
Haas, yeah, you continue.
okay, in the beginning of the season, they were really like everybody was pounding them. Like it wasn't even funny.
Mm-hmm.
It was embarrassing in a way. But I'm really happy that they got their act together and started focusing on this, because I believe they have. I'm still believing that they can get a point in this season. Somewhere along the road, a magical point can come.
Yeah, and I mean Russell's already been ahead of Magnussen a couple of times this season towards the end here, but I would say unless Haas quickly get ahead of what is going wrong with their car, we can see them both be beneath both the Williams drivers within shortly, I think.
Yeah, because Williams are only getting better.
Yeah, even though I think Kubica is the worst driver on the field this year, which is sad to say. He's come back from a really long time away, but yeah, he was. I hoped for more from him than he showed. So even though he is in the worst car, yes, but he's being pounded by his teammate Russell.
Russell is a fighter. I can say that much. What a fighter!
Yeah, yeah, and I mean he has amazing talent. So maybe it's a little bit like comparing Gasly to Verstappen. It's a very rude and mean to think that Gasly could challenge Verstappen, much like Kubica can challenge Russell. But at the same time, I feel like, I thought at least they would be even.
Yeah,
at least.
But Russell is impressing me so much. Like he's not giving up. God damn it, he's going.
Yeah, and he keeps it positive.
Yeah,
which is a major. It's one of those mighty details. Yes, but he keeps his spirit up. Like, yeah, they're still finishing really down low, but yeah, we're a little bit closer. It felt good. I felt good in the car. That's a great plus, and that's an important thing to carry on, because those are the positives that will, when the day comes when your car is fast enough, you also have the mentality to follow through, because you're positive about the car you're in.
Yeah, that's a guy, like, not because of the wins, maybe. That's a guy you want in your team for morale.
Yeah.
That's a guy I would love to have in my team if I drove for a team like that. Like, he shows the spirit.
Yeah, he doesn't let the bad start and the bad races get him down. Of course, he sees the thing as it is. It's difficult. They are last. They are the worst car, but he has decided to look for the positives.
Yeah,
and look for the slight wins that he can find.
I'm so impressed by that.
Yeah, that is very important. It's a little bit like Sirotkin was towards the end, I would say, of last season. Absolutely, or at least that's when I noticed it. It was also kind of like, yeah, we're getting there. We were 0.1 seconds faster in this part of the track than we were in the start of training. A little bit like that. So
I love that mentality.
it's important to have.
Yeah.
Absolutely, when you're going through a rough patch like Williams is right now.
Yeah, like I said, that's the guy you want beside you when that happens, when you're going through a rough patch. That's really the guy you want to have in your like. If you say it in other sport terms, in your locker room.
Yeah.
Every bad team going through a rough patch needs a Russell.
Mm-hmm.
So he's filling an important function there.
Yeah.
But do we have something others to like really look?
Yes, we actually mentioned them shortly now in our little part about Williams, and it's Haas. This race in Great Britain was supposed to be the time Grosjean was going to go back to the old Australia setup from the start of this season. Magnussen was going to keep the new car. They were going to compare numbers from the race to find out what is going wrong, because their updates isn't getting them faster. For some weird reason, like they had this problem where they're not fast in race day. On race day, and it's something they're trying to get a hold of. So Grosjean is going back to Australia. The setup from Australia. Magnussen is still having the newest, and this race is supposed to be, I said, just drive the entire race. Don't care about where you finish. Just drive your race as normal and just get information. Lap 1, corner 5, I think it was. I might be wrong here. I haven't actually looked this up. I should have, but I haven't. Crash or collision, not a crash, in between the two, by the two cars. Grosjean and Magnussen hit each other. Both suffer damage. Both have to go into the pits on lap 1. Magnussen get another 5 laps until he cancels from the race, and Grosjean follows him 3 laps later. They hoped for a weekend with stats, and they didn't even get a lap of data. So the hole just got even bigger, I would say.
Yeah, like it is lost in one way to have to do a race to look for data, and now they have to do another one because of this.
Yeah. I mean, they need to get a hold of what is going wrong, and surely they seem this is the best way right now to try to figure it out, or this is a major help to it, and I can see why.
Yeah. But they were hoping to just sacrifice one race.
Yeah. Now that it's doing a completely different another one. And although I've heard reports saying that this race in the Hockenheimring, like upcoming in Germany, is actually in a way better than Silverstone in England, because it's got straights, it's got short, fast corners, it's got slow corners. You need really to test all different kind of challenges the cars can face. So in that sense, it's a really good circuit.
But I'm thinking about the points there. You can't, like, this is getting expensive.
Oh yes, this is not good for them. They need to go, like, they're still fast in 1 lap pace. Sometimes they weren't actually in Great Britain either. They had really bad qualifying, both of them. But race before, Magnussen 5th in quality, and then just plummeted. So something is wrong, and they need to figure out what it is.
And fast if they want to keep this thing to get points at all.
Yeah, because even though this entire thing also, but their title sponsor may be pulling out.
Oh yeah,
it's been this very weird circus about the week before the British Grand Prix, the Monday before, one person inside the company, I think, tweeted out that they were terminating their contract with Haas F1 team. Then another source inside the company says they haven't. And Haas F1 team in itself says they haven't. So there's this kind of weird limbo of, do they have a sponsor? Do they not? What does it mean for the money? What does it mean for the cars? They drove last race like they still had a sponsor. Coming into this race, I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know how it looks.
No, that's
it's just getting worse and worse because even though they're way ahead of Williams on points, but I would say this is a worse season for Haas than it is for Williams.
Yeah, Williams are expected to be here.
Absolutely, after the preseason, they saw what they were. They've gotten better and better. Haas have gone worse and worse, and they don't know why. And now their sponsor is forcing or is saying they might pull out. It's not good.
For their sake, I hope it's false.
Yeah, I hope it's faulty. I hope they can at least stick it this year out
for that team.
Like, yeah, I mean they're the one of those small teams that doesn't have a brand like a big. They don't have the big money. They're just a smaller company, so they need the sponsor. So yeah,
they really need it. Like that's not a big thing. Ferrari has his money. It's Ferrari. Mercedes has his money, I think. At least Red Bull. Yeah, we know their money situation. If you follow sports at all, they're pouring money everywhere.
Yeah. Renault, I think, is pretty good because they're also a factory team. But as I would say the other team that are in a similar situation, Racing Point, that went into liquidation last season because their money was running out.
Yeah.
Like, what if that would happen to Haas? I don't know. I don't know. Maybe they're way more stock than Racing Point was, or Force India as they were back then. But it's still, if they lose their main sponsor without getting any new one, I don't know how the money situation is going to look at the end of the year.
I have no idea what their money situation is even now.
Yeah. We have no knowledge of this.
Yeah, but it won't get better. We can say that much. Like,
that much is true, yeah. That much is very true.
We don't know if they have a fallback economy to fall back on, because the big teams could handle a short stretch of that, I think, at least. But the smaller teams, I have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
Because they seem to have a more fragile economy.
Yeah. F1 is a very expensive sport.
Yeah, most teams go minus. A lot.
Yeah. And although they're talking about moving to 2021, the new rule changes, the massive changes, they're planning a salary cap or a money cap for the teams. But that cap is only really going to limit Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, maybe Renault, maybe. I'm not sure about them. But I mean, many of the other teams don't even use that amount of money today. So for them, it won't really matter.
The only thing it is happening that is it will slow the bigger teams down.
Yeah, and that I think is the main plus for this is to try to bunch up the amount of money they can pull in, and also that will make it easier for new developers, new constructors to come in, and they know this is the max amount of money we're allowed to spend, so we know it won't cost more than this. Yes, I think the driver's salary is outside of this cap, so I mean there a lot of money can disappear, but you know what I mean. But still, I think it's a positive.
I think so too. Like, I don't like my half thing that I think they should do. Like in Formula 2, use the same damn cars. I'm against it by principle, the principle of it, but I need a closer race.
Yeah.
I'm almost going pro same cars because of that. But but if they are like using same amount of money and everything, that could get it closer.
I think it will get it closer. Just we're still gonna probably have, at least for the first few years, even during that, we're gonna have a few top teams. That is going to pull away, but then I think with time, I think it's going to start to level itself out.
Yeah.
Because then also a thing that might be, at least I didn't think of this when I first heard about this, and maybe I'm the only one, but I'm going to say it anyway. imagine a team like Mercedes to have some of the best engineers, to have some best people working in the garage, working at making the car, working around the team. All of a sudden, they're going to have to cap what money they spend. So maybe that guy who made the car now all of a sudden has to find a new team to work for. So say he goes to Williams, a team they have a company, right now they work together with, and all of a sudden Williams get a guy who's helped to build Mercedes super machine.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, just because of that, Williams all of a sudden get a better car. Just because all of a sudden Mercedes had to let this guy go who was instrumental to their success. Or even his understudy, the understudy to the guy who was successful. That guy still learned a lot and was let go. And all of a sudden he can pour in lots of interesting knowledge to the other teams, and which in that case would make sure that the lower teams get more knowledge that the big teams so far pretty much has, in a way, monopoly on. Because they have all the money, they can hire all the best engineers, all the racing directors, or whatever, like all the positions. So,
yeah, I really believe that could be really entertaining to like see a salary cap in that way, because almost every time the students become the master.
Yeah,
that's the sad thing about being the teacher to the one you're teaching. Almost all the time, if it's a good pupil at least, the one under you will be better than you. Sooner or later.
Yeah, well, maybe that's a bad thing. Maybe that's when you know you succeeded.
Yeah.
You learned something what you know and watched them climb higher than you could.
Yeah, exactly.
Because what you taught them made them able to reach new heights. And I think I would say that's the most gratifying thing in teaching stuff, is to teach someone something and see them take that and reach higher levels than you could.
Yeah. So that could be a really interesting point. Like those guys under could be sacrificed if it becomes a tight budget.
Yeah. Well, Mercedes is going to lose a lot of budget, so what gets let go? It's just a question of that. What do they have to let go? It's not a question. Do they need to let go? They will have to, and so will Ferrari. So they will lose some high-end guys, pretty much working in there. So
yeah, they have to like really see who's really essential, who can't we let go.
Yeah.
And that will be an interesting thing, because sooner or later, one of those teams will slip up and let the wrong guy go.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, we have a new top team.
Exactly. Like someone like that could be really important, but that could be funny actually to see that happening.
Oh yeah.
I like unpredictable sports.
Yeah. I would love if to be fair, I could take any team in the race right now, or any in the F1 calendar. No, I can't speak. Any team right now, make it easy. I have no problem with seeing any of them win. So I mean, bring it on.
Yeah.
Have a top three, be Williams first ahead of a Racing Point with Alfa Romeo on third. I'll love it.
Yeah. Like I want it to be totally unpredictable, like jumping up and down and everything. That's the funniest thing that could happen.
Yeah, when it's completely even, much like the middle of the pack this season.
Yeah,
and that makes it really interesting.
But according to me, one of the middle teams now, we will have. If this continues, we will have a clear number 4 team.
Yeah, they're starting to build ahead, but at the same time, Renault is still trying to reach them. Alfa Romeo have their good races; they can challenge them. Yeah. Racing Point, I think, still has the potential to maybe not McLaren, but I mean, I'd still McLaren's maybe starting to pull away, but then you got Renault, you got Alfa Romeo, you got Toro Rosso. Every one of these cars are so even.
Yeah, but I'm starting to think that they will end 4. Like clear 4, but then oh my god, I don't want to bet on that.
Yeah, yeah, we already have. Oh no,
Yeah,
to be fair, we didn't bet on it. We didn't
no,
bet on it. That's true.
we just
We didn't put any
sacrificed our
money on
honor.
this. Yeah, yeah, that's what we get.
Yeah, this is not going well.
Okay, now let's go back from the further future back to the close future of next weekend and the German Grand Prix. So this race is going to be held on the Hockenheim race. The first race here was held in 1970. It's a 4.5 kilometer or 2.8 mile track, 17 corners that you drive for 67 laps during a Grand Prix. Now, a fun fact: the first version of the Hockenheim Ring was built in 1932. It was then 12 kilometers long, and it was almost formed as a triangle. So a weird beginning right there. But now, if you go through a lap, you start finish straight, onto a very easy, almost full speed right hander onto the first DRS straight for the race. Going down to turn 2, which is a hard braking and important to get the braking right. It's quite a narrow right hand turn. You need to brake on. I believe the track tilts up a little bit inside by the curb, so it's easy run outside the track if you're unlucky. Then going on to the second DRS straight, which, funny enough, isn't a straight for the last 15% of it. It's a giant curve. So interesting that I call it straight, but they do. Going into turn 6, a hairpin. So yeah, that's a thing we see often. Long straight into a hairpin. Going through sector 2, we come through turn 7, turn 8, 9, 10, 11. It's part of a little 7 is just an easy turn, a right hand turn into a tricky 8, 9, 10, 11 section, which kind of slow, kind of tricky. Important to hit the apex of every corner, but it's slightly tricky to do so. And then moving on to sector 3, which goes into a place called the Motordrome. It's pretty much, it's a stadium building, or it's really the stadium at the Hockenheim, but yeah, called Motordrome. That goes from pretty much turn 12 until the end of the lap at turn 7. And as a reminder, it was at turn 13 in the middle of this Motordrome, middle of the stadium, that Vettel ran wide and his race last year. But yeah, talking about last year, let's talk about some things that happened before we go on to talk about what we think will happen this year. So yeah, let's start with a sad incident. Vettel, starting from first on the grid, and was fighting for the lead pretty much the entire race up to that point, most with Raikkonen, his teammates, and Bottas, which is also close to him at some point. Right when he ran off, it started raining, but I believe there wasn't intermediate tires. It was still dry tires, but it was a little bit more slippery, and yeah, lapse of concentration. He sent out into the gravel. And I don't think I've heard someone swear that much on an F1 race as Vettel did right then and there. So
Yeah, he was
I bet
aggressively beating that steering wheel.
Yeah. Yeah. To be fair, it's probably the best place to be aggressive towards the top of the steering wheel with the snow buttons. There's not a human face there. Just get out of frustration on that and the gravel as he walked out of the car and left the circuit. So
I personally would have left him alone after that. The journalist didn't. If you have seen that scene that they're actually pushing the camera almost in his face.
Yeah. Yeah, he just has his helmet on, just keeps on walking.
Yeah. Like, lucky enough we don't see him under the helmet.
Yeah. The other thing I want to mention is not a very real thing about the race, but it's a fun incident with his now teammate Charles Leclerc, which managed to do in the middle of the race, do a perfect 360 without ever leaving the track.
Yeah, it was really perfect.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen that, you can actually just look for, if nothing else, the race highlights from last year's Germany Grand Prix. You can see him do a perfect 360. I haven't seen it before, and I haven't seen it since.
Oh, that was
It
way
was
too perfect.
really impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, just a fun thing.
Yeah.
I don't think we're putting out those tricks, but maybe we'll see some other tricks from him.
I hope we're not seeing that trick again. Because that destroys his pace.
Just imagine he would go into first and doing it right in front of the start-finish line. So he does a pirouette right before he crosses the finish line and wins.
Oh, yeah.
That would be something.
Yeah. But
don't think it will happen, though.
Yeah, but one thing we also should mention, that this is actually a bit the beginning of Ricciardo's personal hell last season.
A little bit, yes.
Yeah, this is when it started repeating themselves. That engine thing, that the engine has died.
Yeah. It was second time in 3 races. Last was in Austria. 2018, of course, Austria, where his engine stopped working. Shut down. Happened again, lap 27, this race. So, I'm glad he seems to be a very much better car this season. And that's fun, because I like seeing him drive, and I didn't see enough of him last year, so I'm happy that he's in a better car, and he seems to like it in Renault, so, and he's doing, I would say he's doing good, so.
Yeah, I'm really satisfied with his performance this far. Maybe he hasn't been the best driver every race, but he's still showing that he's a good driver.
Oh, yes.
So, yeah.
The last thing I want to mention before going on to what happened, or what we think will happen, is the fight towards the end of the race between Hamilton and Bottas. Both are new, then ultra soft, the softest tire compound available for the race. And they were having a fight on the track. Bottas almost overtook Hamilton. He had to fight back, and actually managed to fight back and hold the lead. And then it happened. The also known James in the Mercedes pit crew tells Bottas to not fight, to let Hamilton finish first and he will finish second.
Yeah.
Team orders engaged. Yeah. And in the radio from the race, he just says copy. Like, I understand. I don't know what his feelings was. I don't remember seeing any interview about what he felt like, what he felt when he heard this, but he seemed to take it good on track. But yeah, and I think this is interesting because indeed, and I think it's interesting that this was a race where team orders came into place, because even though they've been really even this season, Hamilton and Bottas. But if you now look at the driver standings, Lewis Hamilton is starting to pull away even from Bottas. And it wouldn't surprise me if Mercedes soon, maybe not this race, but they're probably soon going to start using that famous team strategy or team orders, whatever you want to call it, to make sure that Hamilton finishes ahead of Bottas. And stops Bottas from fighting for wins.
I hope it doesn't.
Which I think is sad. I understand why they do it, but yeah, we might soon see it again. And yeah.
I hate when that happens. When a team order has to decide the race.
Mm-hmm.
I much prefer that every race decides by other means. Racing. Maybe they have to tell them to calm down, maybe, sometimes, because they're doing too aggressively against each other. That would be fine by me. But I hate when a team order comes to place and stops someone from winning.
You know, something for racing.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, this far they have let them race pretty aggressively against each other at least.
Yeah. They haven't stepped in yet, which I like.
Yeah, me too.
And I hope it goes on for the entire season. That's the race lover in me.
Yeah.
That hopes they won't do it for the rest of the season. But the realist in me thinks that if Lewis Hamilton continues doing this, gets more points than Bottas, get further ahead, it's just a matter of time before they start doing it to make sure that Hamilton can win another driver championship. Because to be fair, the last thing, the worst thing for the team is if they were fighting and crash into each other and 2D.
Yeah.
So that is the logical thing. Like that would be the worst thing. Instead of getting 43 points for 1-2, they get 0. Like that is literally the worst that can happen. So
Yeah, it really is. So I'm hoping that they don't have to use that order.
Mm.
Oh, I only like it if they do it because of aggressive reasons. Because like they're seeing that this will end badly if you don't calm down.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which in a way, I guess you can see the what happened in Germany last season was as such that Bottas was, or not he was dangerously aggressive, but it was really pushing Hamilton hard. And if you push the driver, I think even Hamilton, sooner or later, he's going to do a mistake. Even though Hamilton is one to very rarely do mistakes, which is one of the reasons why he is such a good racing driver. He rarely does those mistakes. He rarely messes up, but push him hard enough for long enough, and I'm pretty sure even he can crack. So that's what they don't want to happen.
Yeah. But what do you think about this year if we really...
Yeah. Well, last year, Mercedes, okay, they got 1-2, but Vettel was leading pretty much the entire race. Raikkonen was on top, so it wasn't as... I was going to say Mercedes was 1-2 last season. There's no way they can't be 1-2 this season. But to be fair, if you watch the race, it wasn't clear for pretty much the entire race that they would get 1-2. So not until Vettel's DNF, to be fair, that's really the decider. So, but yeah, I think Mercedes, I think they're just too good again. They're too far ahead. I hope that that Verstappen and Leclerc will keep on fighting. So I read an article that said that, or just a snippet from it, not the entire thing, but that the fight between Verstappen and Leclerc, as we've seen now for the last 2 races, Austria and Great Britain, that is the rivalry beginning to build that Hamilton versus Vettel was supposed to, but never actually reached. Like they were supposed to be that big rival, that both guys that won 4 drivers' championship last season. Now Lewis Hamilton, of course, had 5. But they were supposed to be this great battle, but it never materialized because they were too. But right now, Verstappen and Leclerc is having that amazing fight into almost equally powered cars. At least when Verstappen driving the Red Bull is as good as the Ferrari, but
yeah, and it's really entertaining in a lot of ways.
Yeah, I can't wait until they are fighting for 1 and 2 in every single race. Like,
oh yeah,
because I think that is the driver championship battle that we can look forward to. Maybe some of the drivers will jump in and try to fight. Maybe Gasly if he gets his one. Maybe Norris. Some of the young guys from this year. Maybe they also will try to launch a battle. But right now, definitely Leclerc Verstappen looks like the main battle to look forward to for the years to come.
Yeah, and I think it will be a really exciting one. I have really high hopes on those guys.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm actually going with a top Mercedes in the top this time.
Yeah.
I don't see anything happening, but like the third place is wide open according to me.
Yes, it is.
Oh, not really wide open, but Leclerc, Vettel, even Gasly, Verstappen, like all those guys, anyone could take it.
Yeah, absolutely Verstappen, I would say. Gasly, he was good in Great Britain. I can't wait to see what he can do in Germany. I hope it wasn't just a fluke. It was good in one race, although he was good pretty much the entire weekend, so that is positive. I can't wait to see what he does. But I still think he's a little bit behind those guys, Verstappen, Vettel, Leclerc. Um, but yeah, that's the battle for. Then I hope it goes better for Norris than it did in Great Britain. Mistake. It wasn't really a mistake. It was just bad luck with when they pitted and then the safety car just 1 or 2 laps later. It wasn't worth coming into change tires again. So
That third spot will be a hard one.
Yeah.
And I hope that Russell keeps on doing that thing. He doesn't come like he's beating someone outside his own team.
I hope so. The Haas definitely looks grabbable at the moment. I often said that Giovinazzi was the weak link for Russell, but now that Alfa Romeo is starting to look good, I don't think that's the truth anymore. Then, man, this is hard.
Yeah.
That's the fun thing about the mid-team, though, midfield, because it's so even.
Yeah, I'm putting McLaren.
So if you think we have
six.
top 6, just top 3. Yeah, we have McLaren 7, 8th, I think, actually.
Yeah, I have them on 6th place. I think something funny will happen.
Yeah, to be fair, I'm placing this without thinking if someone's going to the end. But who's going to take the last 2? Is it Renault? Is Alfa Romeo going to put in a fight?
I think one of each.
It's the Toro Rosso. Actually, we never mentioned that. Kvyat had a really bad qualifying, while Albon had a really good qualifying.
Yeah.
In the end, Albon had a pretty difficult race, finished 11th. Kvyat, which was kicked out in Q1, went on to bring home points. So maybe him is to look out for points here as well.
Yeah, and I think what is that? Magnussen will continue having a really tough time.
Yeah, although I can't wait to see. Apparently, they're bringing a new update to his car. I might have mentioned it already here. I'm not sure. They're bringing a new update for his car, Grosjean, of course, in the Australia car. It might be a better Haas car that Magnussen is going to drive. It might be just as bad. It might be worse for some weird reason, but I don't understand how the Haas car is this slow. So who knows?
What are you saying, that the Haas car will turn into a Williams?
Say again, please.
Are you saying that the Haas car could very well turn into a Williams?
Well, I can definitely see Russell beating both of them if they have a bad day. Yeah. That's all I'm saying.
Russell is pressuring that Williams car to the limit.
I think he's getting the max out of it.
Yeah.
Every single race. Russell's getting the max out of those Williams. And it's only a matter of time before. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. It's if you think about next season, because that's really Williams really could do already. They need to start functioning or thinking about next season. Will Russell still be there? Will he give it another chance to Williams, or will a bigger team snatch him up? That's something. Although
Yeah.
that's not talked about here, but
He is interesting. I can say that much.
not right now.
He is interesting,
Yeah.
like to pick up because his ability.
Yeah.
He deserves a better team. Sorry, Williams, but he deserves better.
He deserves a better car. It's not the team's fault, I don't
like
think, per
the
se.
car at least. Like he deserves way better car.
Yeah. Like even a car so he can fight with the midfield. That is enough. That's what Albon does this year. He fights in the midfield. Norris was slightly lucky, slightly. I don't know. He's done amazing things with that McLaren. Of course, it's not just luck where he gets placed. That he gets placed in a team that just happens to be the fourth strongest. He's been really pushing Sainz, which has been racing many years now in F1. So yeah.
Yeah, the middle is so hard. It's almost ridiculous in the middle, actually, how hard it is. But yeah, so if I have to guess on something, this has become a thing, even if it's going ridiculously bad.
Yeah, since we started it.
Yeah, since we began mentioning as a thing. The driver who goes off this time. This is a hard one. I feel so evil against him, but the statistics says Vettel goes off. In this one. He goes off in Germany. By his own mistake also. I'm going with that. So he will be the reason why McLaren can actually snatch that 6th place.
Okay, if you say that is true, he's going off. Who do you think this is? Is this Sainz or is it Norris? This isn't a part. I'm going to say that this isn't your part of your guess. If it happens that he goes off, you're correct. It doesn't have to fall in with McLaren. But which do you think, Norris or Sainz?
Oh, this is hard. I'm kind of hoping for Norris here, actually. Let him redeem himself after the last race.
Yeah, sounds good to me.
Norris. But yeah, I think he will go off. Vettel will go off in front of his home crowd.
Yeah, hopefully he won't do it from the first position, or like he did last year, though. That would be even worse.
Yeah, that's just too cruel. But that's my crazy prediction. So yeah, we're starting to reach the end of this. And we will be back next week with the next race. And this time I actually know that you know what it is.
Yeah, we already mentioned it. It's Hungary.
Yeah.
The last race before the summer break.
Yeah, so that break will go on for about an hour, about a month. And then we will, after Hungary we'll be away for a time. Then we will come back again. But yeah, I hope you had as fun listening as we had recording this. We always have some great laughs when we do this. At least me. So yeah, we will see you next week again and talk about what happened in Germany and what we think will happen in Hungary. So that's all from us. We'll see you then. Bye.
Bye.